2 months later, Amelia found out that she was pregnant. Her life was now flipped upside down.
How can you two be so negligent with your futures? Charles, you animal!
Wait.
Don't! Charles isn't even the father.
What do you mean he's not the father? Who the hell is responsible for this?
I know this sounds bad, but I don't know.
Raphael, I didn't know we were raising in this house.
Oh, Amelia, you're pathetic. How could you betray such a perfect guy like Charles? He deserves much better.
Sophie, don't get involved. It's none of your business.
Don't talk to my daughter like that, Amelia. It is exactly her business when you're the one who tarnishing our family name.
Sophie is not all that innocent. Do you know she brought to my birthday?
Amelia knew Sophia put something in her drink that night, but she couldn't prove it.
See, look! Turn around!
I'm calling the clinic.
No one cared to hear Amelia's side of the story.
No.
What do you mean, no?
I mean, I'm keeping the baby. I'm an adult now, and it's my choice.
Not in this house. If you keep this child and ruin your life, you will do it on your own and without the support of my bank account. You got that?
Fine.
Get out of my house!
Amelia, wait.
I am so sorry about all of this. You deserve so much better.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that me and you are over. Please.
Amelia, no. I will be there for you, I promise.
Please just leave now.
Okay. Then.
Amelia had no idea who her child's father was, but she had one lead, Mr. Cortez, the lawyer. She emailed him and set up a meeting the next day.
I'm keeping my baby, and I will not be intimidated.
Well, my client supports your decision.
Oh? And what right does he have to voice that opinion?
The right of the father of the child, I suppose. Moreover, though he's not legally required to do so, my client has agreed to cover the child's medical costs and provide a stipend for living expenses until the child turns 18.
What's the catch?
There is no catch.
The financial support was guaranteed as long as she signed this agreement.
If, at any point during the next 18 years, my client decides he wants to be a father, you agree to shared custody and you will move into his home.
How do I know he's not a smuggler or a black market dealer? I'm not going to make a deal that puts my baby at risk.
Let me assure you, my client's business is entirely legal. I can put that in the contract if you'd like.
You know what? Deal. I hope he does come crawling back into the kid's life one day. And when he does, I'm gonna make his life hell. Where do I sign?
Months later, when Amelia gave birth to her healthy baby boy, Max, she hoped her child's father would show up, but he never appeared. Days turned into weeks and weeks turned into years. 6 years passed and still no one came. Years later, Amelia graduated with a degree in modern languages and secured an internship at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They were happy in their small world, content with each other. Amelia had lost hope of ever meeting Max's father again. Little did she know the mystery man was about to unravel her world once again.
Mom, you're home! Thank you. See you tomorrow. Max, haven't we watched enough TV? How about we put on something a little bit more age appropriate at least?
You're an adult, and this is appropriate for your age.
I'm not talking about me, silly.
Hey!
Oh shoot, the delivery's here.
You ordered ramen?
Your favorite. I have to go down and grab the bag. Stay here and don't open the door for anyone, okay? Max, are you ready to feast? Max?
Max! 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 Max!
It's all right, Miss Rivera. Max is with us.
How dare you? You went into my apartment and you kidnapped him?
Amelia was furious. After all those years of silence, Mr. Cortez came back to ruin her life with Max.
We were concerned for the boy's safety. Look, when we got here, he was all alone with no adult supervision.
I went downstairs to get delivery. You had no right, nor human nor legal.
All right, you're right. I'm sorry if we scared you. Max is just around the corner on a bench talking with his father. and we've secured the location.
I'm sorry, did you say his father?
Does the boy not speak?
Well, sir, he was resistant to come with us. He bit the guard that carried him.
Good. Serves the brew right for not following my instructions.
He told them to invite the boy and his mother out to the car, not abduct him.
Then let me go back to my mom. Haven't you seen how she was knocking the door? She is mad. And you don't want to see my mom mad, mister.
Is that so? Hey, listen, Max. No one here means you any harm. I'm afraid we got off to a bad start. My name is Javier, and this is Victor, my assistant. And I promise you'll be reunited with your mother very soon.
How do you know where I live? How do you know my name?
Max, what can you tell me about your father?
He's dead.
And what if I told you I'm your father?
So are you a ghost?
No, not a ghost. Wouldn't you prefer a father that's alive? I'll tell you what. How about this? How about you come and spend some time with me? I have a pool at my house. I have a basketball court, a horse stable. Do you like horses?
My mom would be sad if I went somewhere cool without her. Can she come too?
I'm sorry, I have to run. But I look forward to spending some more time with you, Max. See you soon.
Max, thank goodness you're okay. I'm so sorry.
Mom, it's okay. I'm all right.
Ms. Rivera, my client's had to tend to an urgent matter, but he's invited you and your son to dinner this evening.
I will absolutely join your boss for dinner this evening.
Amelia had to let this know there was no way she'd let him take her son. Max was exhausted, so she took him to nap on the couch. Amelia made her way to confront the mystery man. His face was just as she remembered. It annoyed her that someone so vile was allowed to look so good.
Hello, Amelia.
Amelia was confused. Who the hell was this man?
How insecure you must be to force them to address you as your highness.
Well, I am Javier Calderon, the Crown Prince of Spain.
You expect me to believe you're a prince?
Don't. The first lap was free, but hit me, and I'll take it you're flirting with me.
Get over yourself and tell me who you really are.
You have a phone. Google it.
Prince Javier was smitten. He loved how she treated him like a normal guy. He couldn't remember the last time he met someone who didn't immediately fawn over him.
If you bow now, I might consider pardoning you for striking royalty.
I'd sooner slap you again. So, Prince Calderon, now that I know who you are, why did you show up at my doorstep?
Quite simply, I want my son. I'm his father. He should live with me.
You have no right to claim him. You've ignored him for years.
That's because until last week, I did not know Max existed. I did not abandon my son. And I understand you're angry, but I didn't do you wrong. You and I are both victims of a conspiracy to keep me in the dark about Max.
That doesn't make sense. We have a contract. You pay child support.
Well, someone has been paying child support, just not from my pocket.
But I met with your lawyer.
Apparently Cortez's loyalties do not lie with me.
But who told you now? Javier, why are you silent?
That's not easy to explain.
Explain what? Wait, is my son safe? Max!
Just then, something occurred to her. Is my son safe? This conspiracy, who would go to all this trouble? It doesn't matter. It's over. And don't worry, Max is safe. Javier didn't feel comfortable sharing the identity of the puppeteer, but he knew exactly who it was and made sure to confront the guilty party. A week ago, when Prince Calderon was still in his home country, he barged into the king's study in a murderous rage. Give me one reason why I shouldn't strike you right now and commit treason. King Sebastian Calderon looked up from his paperwork, displeased to see his level-headed son so out of control. Javier, what is the meaning of this? Javier slammed a stack of papers down on his father's desk. Tell me this contract isn't what it looks like. Did I father a fucking child? The king removed his glasses with a heavy sigh. How did you find this? In a fit of rage, Javier shoved everything on his father's desk to the ground. Let's just say I smelt a rat on my team and went digging. How could you? And Cortez stoop so low as to hide this from me? Unapologetic, his father's tone was cavalier. You were too young to get trapped by some pedestrian American you dumped your seed into one night. Javier gave him a warning glare. That was not your choice to make. Javi, try to see the positives. Down the line, if you and your future wife struggle to produce an heir, you can rest assured knowing you have a son out there who can uphold the family line, if needed. The prince couldn't believe what he was hearing. That's what this is about. Your paranoid obsession with securing the royal line. The last couple of generations of Calderon had been plagued with infertility issues. It was a hereditary curse. Back when Javier's parents finally conceived him and his sister, it was no easy feat. So when word got back to Sebastian that Javier had gotten a girl pregnant, he saw one big advantage to supporting the unplanned pregnancy. Javier was disgusted. How dare you treat my son like some fallback plan? The prince snatched the contract and threw it into the fireplace. I'm going to the States to focus on the defense project. For the foreseeable future, my Miami villa will be my home base. Let this be the last time you interfere in my life. Sebastian's face grew stern. Javier, you can't afford to get distracted right now. We have too many plans in place. As Javier left his father's study, he turned to him with cold eyes. It'll do you good to remember, I'm not my brother. Back in the present day, Javier's staff served dinner while Amelia processed the many revelations of the night. After another glass of wine, she was ready to speak her mind. Crown Prince Calderon? Just Javier, please. She straightened in her chair. Javier, if this conspiracy of yours is real, it is unfortunate we ended up tangled in this strange mess, but Max is all I have. And you have so much. I mean, just look at this place. I am open to you knowing your son, but you cannot take him from me. Javier sat back, his brow furrowed. Technically, Miss Rivera, both you and Max are contractually obligated to move in with me, if I so choose. Amelia's stomach dropped at the sound of this. But I'm a reasonable man. I won't force you into my home. Max, however, will be moving in with me. Amelia rose to her feet to protest, but he cut her off. You had him all to yourself for half a decade. It's my turn to make up for lost time. The nerve of this man. To think he can call the shots here, just because he's a prince? Her resentment started to boil. Maybe lost time is your karma for seducing a girl on her birthday and ditching her the next morning. Javier clenched his jaw and didn't respond. You can't remove a child from the only home he's known. His air of superiority came back. Kids are quick to adapt. His quality of life will be better here with me. For starters, that apartment building of yours is a death trap. You got stuck in the elevator for how long? Not to mention, it took my men no time to access your apartment and abduct Max. Amelia rolled her eyes. Abducting your own son isn't something to gloat about. Javier leveled with her. It is not a secure building. And I have endless resources at my disposal to offer Max. World-renowned chefs that can cook him fresh, nutritious meals, the finest doctors on speed dial, a real yard the boy can play in, and a security team to keep eyes on him at all times. So don't pretend Max would benefit more from living in that shabby building of yours. This man was so rude, but it was hard to argue with all the amazing things he could provide for their son. She wanted the best for Max and wondered if it'd be selfish for her to deny him all of that, just to keep him by her side. But at the end of the day, she wasn't comfortable in trusting Max in his care. Look, I know you can give Max the best, and he deserves that. I just can't, in good conscience, send my son to live with a stranger without my supervision. A teasing smirk crossed his face. Stranger. I'd argue that you and I know each other rather intimately. This prince had no shame in bringing up their sordid past at a time like this. Noticing her blush despite herself, he grinned. But I agree with your idea. Let's do that. She knew something was off when he agreed with her. Wait, what idea? Javier sat back and crossed his legs. You said you'll only let Max live here if you move in with him to supervise. So fine, I'll open my doors to you. I prefer my son to grow up in a two-parent household anyway. That certainly was not what she meant. You're twisting my words around. He smiled like the devil himself. Didn't you say that Max deserves all the best that I can offer? Then what's the problem, Amelia? The problem was that this prince was a sneaky bully. He had used her words against her, and the worst part was, he was right. The only way to give their son the best of both worlds would be to let him live in Javier's villa under her supervision. But was she really going to live with this man? Before she'd agreed to this twisted compromise, she needed to set some ground rules. His Royal Highness estate is significantly far from my internship, so if I am to make my stay here work, I will need access to one of your chauffeurs. A glint appeared in Javier's eyes. Ah, are we setting terms? How thrilling. Sure, you can use the cars. Amelia tightened her gaze on him. And I want you to stop stalking me. He tightened his eyes right back. Who said I was stalking you? The gall he had to deny it. Your Highness, you know where I live, my dress size, my shoe size. Javier groaned. In my industry, that's not stalking. It's called gathering intel. But fine, I wouldn't want my son's mother to be uncomfortable. On that note, Amelia thought of one last item. And I'd like my room to be in a private wing, preferably whichever bedroom is the farthest from yours. Javier cocked his head. This woman really was something else. He had models, heiresses, and literal princesses vying for his attention. Yet Amelia acted bothered to share the same air as him. You know that contract you signed legally requires you to share my bed with me. As part of my negotiations, I think that's one line item I'd like to enforce. I'd rather die than share your bed. I'm not some harem girl you can handcuff to your headboard. Amelia was livid. Javier gave a sly smile. Who said anything about handcuffs? Such a dirty mind. Amelia's patience had reached her limit. This man spent their entire dinner twisting her words until she finally agreed to live with him. And now he thinks he can negotiate her into his bed? She made the mistake of falling into bed with him once, and it ended up being the biggest mistake of her life. That was never going to happen again. She raised her hand, ready to land a second slap on the monarch who had turned her life upside down. Then, she noticed a dumb smirk on Javier's face. He smiled, flashing his perfect teeth. I was kidding. The girl I remember from that night years ago could take a joke. Javier commented charmingly, which only irritated Amelia further. Well, that girl had to birth and raise a child on her own after being abandoned by her family. Thanks to you. Try enduring 6 years of that and see if your charming sense of humor stays intact. Amelia stormed off, heading for the door. Amelia, wait. She sighed, ready to be done with him. Before you go, this is important. For Max's safety, my identity as his father must be kept a secret. I have political enemies and crazies out there who could see the prince's son as a target. No one can know. Not your family, not friends. I know it sounds extreme, but you don't have to explain. I understand. Amelia cut him off. Though it pained her to think that Max would have to lie to pretend he didn't know his dad, his safety was her priority. Good night, Amelia. It was good to see you again. She gave him a disinterested look and strode off. Javier smiled to himself as the only woman daring enough to strike a prince not once, but almost twice, walked out on him. He knew he had a lot to make up for, and he hoped she'd let him. Days flew by, and soon it had already been a week since Amelia and Max moved into Javier's estate. Everything still felt like a strange dream to her. Just days before, she was at the supermarket having to decide which groceries to remove from her cart because she didn't have enough money in her account to cover it all. Her own shampoo was returned to the shelf to be able to buy Max's kids' shampoo instead. Now, the woman who always put herself last had gone from a cramped one-bedroom apartment with no air conditioning to living in a palatial villa with a staff ready to cater to her every need. After their tumultuous dinner, Amelia dreaded running into the arrogant prince in the mansion halls. But to her relief, he had spent the entire week away, traveling for work. However, not everyone was pleased with Javier's absence. Max was yearning for the presence of the father who had just entered his life. Amelia noticed it when she heard Javier's voice coming from the TV in Max's bedroom. And I'd like to thank the American government for facilitating the trade exchange with Spain. Amelia walked in to find Max intently watching the news. The boy looked up at his mother, trying to appear casual to conceal his sadness.
Will Dad be home to put me to bed tonight?
She sighed deeply. I'm not sure, sweetheart. He has a busy schedule, but in the morning we can ask Victor when he'll be back. Amelia tried to keep Max's spirits up about the whole "my father is alive and a prince, but I can't tell anyone" situation. Thankfully, it wasn't hard to distract him now that Javier had spoiled him with every toy a boy could wish for. A bed shaped like a race car, a custom-built treehouse with a slide, though the little genius's favorite part was a cozy reading nook that featured beanbag chairs shaped like planets. Amelia couldn't help but wonder if it all was a bit too much. She didn't want him to take his father's wealth for granted and grow up to be a spoiled brat. After Amelia read Max a bedtime story, he turned to her with puppy dog eyes.
Big Star, can you sleep with me tonight? My new car bed is cool, but it's so big it feels weird.
She tucked him in and stared into his sleepy eyes. Of course, little moon. I just have to finish some work, and I'll come back in a minute. As Amelia walked down the hall, she got an email notification on her phone. When she saw what it was, she groaned in frustration. It was an email from South Miami Prep School, the best school in the city, offering gifted classes for advanced kids like Max. But it was extremely competitive to get into. Amelia had been fighting the good fight, but no matter what she did, she couldn't get Max off the waiting list. She worried he'd have to stay at his current school, which failed to cater to a smart kid like him. Amelia entered her enormous bedroom, which had an annex that served as an office. She sat at her desk to catch up on work. It had been challenging to balance the big move and her internship as a translator with Miami's Council of Foreign Affairs. Things were picking up at work, and she was determined to impress her boss. There was a big cultural event tomorrow, and her job assigned her to translate for some German diplomats. She needed to prepare for it, but couldn't find the reference books she needed. They'd been misplaced during the move. In search of them, she ventured over to the estate's grand library, which was also Javier's study, and was overwhelmed by the impressive shelves of books that towered above her. Just as she suspected, she found her reference material had been stored there, but their location wasn't exactly convenient. Of course, they had to be on the highest shelf. Amelia climbed onto a chair and stood on tiptoe, reaching for the book, but was still a few inches too short. Could they have put it any further? Just then, Javier padded into the library. He had just returned from his trip and needed to store some sensitive documents in the safe. He didn't expect to find Amelia in his study, doing acrobatics atop a chair. Javier hung back to admire the sight of her. She looked so pretty like this. Fresh-faced, in her pajamas, her hair seemed so soft and touchable, its ends still wet from the bath. Need a hand? His voice startled her, and she nearly lost her balance. She shot him a glare. You can keep your hands to yourself, thank you. I got it. He crossed his arms and stood behind her to watch her stubborn attempt. She stretched again and did a little hop, finally grabbing the book. Ha! Told you. But when she gave the book a hard tug, the chair wobbled, and Amelia went flying backward. Javier rushed over to catch the clumsy girl, and they both toppled like dominoes onto the floor. Damn it! She exclaimed, offering no apology. You got it, huh? The grumpy Javier spoke, the air knocked out of him from the fall. No one told you to, Amelia went to stand up, but yelped. Her hair was caught on something. She turned to find herself face to face with Javier's crotch and realized the thing her hair was caught on was his zipper. Amelia, what are you doing? Don't move. My hair is stuck in your zipper. She placed her hands on his thigh to brace herself. Caught off guard by the intimate touch, Javier felt something stir within him and held his breath. Her proximity to his lap was particularly torturous. You have to be kidding me, he muttered. Amelia gently tugged her hair back and forth, trying to free it, but it didn't work. Then, while trying to steady herself, she unknowingly placed her hand on a certain bulge. Javier immediately froze. Amelia, pay attention, he said in a stern frustration. Her eyes opened wide, realizing what she'd touched. She quickly removed her hand. Growing flustered, she changed tactics and clumsily fumbled with his zipper. Stop. You're making it worse. Javier snapped, bothered by how easily her touch was affecting him. He was used to being in control of himself and everything around him, but now his body was betraying him, as if he were some hormonal teenager. Equally frustrated, Amelia threw up her hands. Fine. Do you have a better plan? Or has all the blood rushed away from your brain? Javier reached for his briefcase on the floor and took out a pair of scissors. I'll just cut you free. Don't you dare. I don't trust you. I'll end up with half a bob. She protectively held her hands over her hair. Javier's patience was wearing thin. This all could have been avoided if you had let me help you to begin with. Hell, we have dozens of people here who are paid to assist. Why didn't you ask any of them? Because I'm not a spoiled princess, she thought to herself. It's late. I didn't want to bother anyone. That's what they're here for, Javier exclaimed. To be bothered. And yet I keep hearing how you insist on doing all your chores yourself. And Max's too. Frustrated, she replied, You told me to make myself at home. And at home, I do my own chores. It calms me. Also, if this is supposed to be my home, why can't I ever find any of my things? She smacked his leg in exasperation. Javier yelped. Sorry. Just then, something occurred to her. If you want to help me with something I actually need help with, why don't you get your son into South Miami Prep School? Javier furrowed his brow. They won't let him in. Amelia let out a disappointed breath. Perpetually waitlisted, even though Max got perfect scores on all the entry exams. He took this in, then nodded. I'll handle it. Consider it done. That's it? Is that easy? Was this what it felt like to have a partner in raising your child? She'd gotten used to carrying the burden all on her own. Realizing she now had someone fighting in her corner, she was filled with a sense of warmth. That is, until she came back to reality and realized she was still trapped in a very compromising position. As if he was reading her mind, Javier shifted. Okay, I'm going to try something. Just don't move. Javier fished through her hair, unbuckled his belt, then slowly unzipped his pants. It worked. Amelia was able to pull her hair free. Finally. God. Amelia looked over, and her eyes fell on Javier, not expecting to see his undone pants hanging low around his hips. Her gaze drifted down and landed on two defined V-cut abs that disappeared into a pair of snug, black boxer briefs. She was staring, and she didn't even know it. Enjoying the view, Miss Rivera? No. For your information, I wasn't looking at you. I just thought I saw a spider. Amelia was a brilliant woman, but a terrible liar. Javier pulled his pants up, smirking as he fastened his buckle. Must have been a pretty big spider. This shameless man will be the death of her. She narrowed her eyes in a stubborn retort. It was average and quite unimpressive. Desperate to save herself from further humiliation, Amelia spun around and bolted before he could see her cheeks flush with embarrassment. Javier chuckled to himself. Teasing Amelia might be his new favorite hobby. Amelia ran straight to her bathroom, wanting to hide. She stared at herself in the mirror, her cheeks still red from the incident. How mortifying. How did the simple task of grabbing her workbook land her head first in Javier's crotch? And he caught her staring right at it. Saw a spider? Really, Amelia? That was the best you could come up with? Moving into this place was a mistake. Unless I can avoid that man altogether, I'm likely to never know peace. Just then, the image of a smoldering Javier standing in his boxer briefs popped into her mind, and a warmth shot through her all over again. Amelia quickly splashed water on her face, hoping that would wash away the memory. She was furious with herself for letting that arrogant man get inside her mind like this. Suddenly, Max's voice interrupted her thoughts.
The butler said you forgot this.
Amelia looked down to see Max holding her workbook. After that whole fiasco, she was in such a hurry to leave the study that she forgot the only thing she went there for.
Mommy, you're all red. Are you sick? Do you have a fever?
Her eagle-eyed 5-year-old fired off a barrage of questions.
Oh, were you doing your exercises?
Each question made her want to bury her head deeper into the ground.
Yes, Mommy is red from exercising. I was just about to come to sleep with you, like I promised. You were going to come to bed without a bath?
Max asked, bothered.
That's so unfair. Why do I have to shower before bed, but you don't?
Amelia couldn't hold back her laughter. This little one was the best cure for a bad mood. Max was her greatest love. And with each passing day, she was more certain she would do absolutely anything for him, like sharing a home with an egomaniacal prince.
Come, let's go to bed, baby.
Max pretended to be upset.
I'm not a baby.
He stretched out his tiny arms.
Carry me to bed.
Amelia crouched down, and Max hugged her neck so she could lift him. She held him tightly in her arms. Once Max was back in bed, Amelia whispered,
By the way, what are you doing up? I thought you'd be sound asleep by now.
Max sighed and turned to face the wall, avoiding his mother's gaze.
I heard a car outside my window and saw Dad was home. I thought maybe he'd come say goodnight, so I stayed awake.
Amelia nodded.
He had a long flight. I think he was tired and went to bed, baby. But I bet he can't wait to see you for breakfast tomorrow.
She rubbed her son's back, wishing she could make everything okay for him. Still facing the wall, he spoke softly.
Do you think Dad changed his mind about wanting me?
Those words shattered Amelia's heart. She hated seeing Max feel unwanted by his father, especially since they had only recently discovered each other. Despite wanting to avoid Javier after the zipper fiasco, she knew she would soon have to confront him about this. Amelia wrapped herself around Max.
My little moon. It's impossible not to want you. Do you know why? Because you taste like cotton candy.
She playfully nibbled his ear, making him giggle. They fell asleep and cuddled together. Then later in the night, Amelia was awakened when she sensed another presence in the room. She cracked open her eyes and saw Javier standing quietly in Max's doorway. In silence, she watched him crouch down to kiss Max's forehead and pull his blanket up to his little chin. The affectionate gesture surprised Amelia and brought warmth to her heart. The next morning, Amelia and Max followed their usual morning routine. They spent 10 minutes lazing in bed without speaking a word, then shared their plans and expectations for the day before they jumped out of bed and happily made their way to the dining room. There, they found Javier already seated at the table, reading the newspaper. He looked so serious and regal. Javier looked up, and when Amelia met his gaze, she felt all the embarrassment from the previous night wash over her again. But when she saw Max frozen in place, as if questioning whether he could run up to his father or not, she knew
She had to be brave and break the ice first. "Top of the morning, Prince Javier," she greeted him cheerily. Javier furrowed his brow, caught off guard by Amelia's jolly tone. Shouldn't she be hiding after last night's zipper mishap? Not a morning person, he responded with a cold grunt. "Hello." Amelia kept up her spirited act as she served fruit for herself and Max. The boy had grown quiet, his mood dampened by his father's lackluster greeting. "Dad?" he finally said, making Javier look up from his newspaper. "What's that long paper you're reading?" Javier frowned slightly. "This? You've never seen a newspaper?" Max shook his head. Javier motioned for Max to come closer. "As a fan of CNN, you'll appreciate this. It's a printed compilation of yesterday's news. Look, here's the politics section, here's sports, and even the weather forecast for Miami." Max studied it curiously. "But you're rich. Why don't you buy a tablet like normal people to read the news online?" Javier chuckled, and Amelia couldn't help but laugh along before gently scolding her son. "Max!" Javier, however, seemed amused. "It's all right. This is a habit I learned from my father, and maybe one day you'll pick it up as well. It brings me good memories. When I travel, I use a tablet too, like normal people." The three of them laughed, and Max took the opportunity to move closer to his father. Staring bashfully at his feet, he spoke softly. "Your trip was long. I thought you weren't going to come back because you didn't want me anymore." This time, Amelia stayed quiet, giving Javier the chance to step up to his role. The prince placed his hand on Max's small shoulders. "You're my son. I will always want you, Max. And I will always come back for you." Amelia was mesmerized by Javier's sweet response, but she could tell that Max needed more reassurance. So she chimed in. "Max, you can trust your dad. I'm sure he'll never lie to you. Right, Javier?" Javier realized the implication of that question. It was no time for empty promises. He turned to Max and nodded solemnly. "Never." Cheered up again, Max returned to his seat, and Amelia handed him his favorite breakfast, a slice of cinnamon toast. He took a bite and let out an adorable hum of delight. Mommy, this is the best one you've ever made. You should make one for Dad, too. Daddy, you have to try Mom's cinnamon toast." Realizing his reading time was over, Javier put down his newspaper. "Is that so?" Amelia felt awkward, but decided to play along. She prepared a slice of toast with butter, sugar, and cinnamon, then offered it to Javier. But when she went to hand it over, Javier glanced at the butler, who then nervously intercepted the toast. "Sorry, Miss Rivera, but Prince Javier cannot eat that. He has misophonia." Amelia was taken aback, while Max's curiosity piqued. "What's that, Dad? Do you have an allergy?" Mr. Grant began to explain. "Sir, Max, misophonia is a—" Javier interrupted. "That's okay, Mr. Grant. Max, you know how some people are afraid of heights, others of snakes? Well, I have a problem with germs." Amelia did not expect to learn that this seemingly untouchable man had such a big vulnerability. She wondered, next time he pisses me off, should I get revenge by poking my fingers in all of his food? She chuckled at the thought. Just then, the butler slipped on a pair of gloves and proceeded to prepare a slice of toast. "I watched how Miss Rivera made it. I'll prepare a similar one for the prince." Javier stood abruptly. That won't be necessary. I have a busy day ahead. And with that, Javier left. Amelia worried about how Max would take his father's abrupt departure, but when she turned to him, he was happily devouring his extra piece of cinnamon toast. Amelia's office was buzzing with activity. The High Commissioner of Foreign Affairs was scheduled to meet with Mexico's Prime Minister, and everyone was on edge. Though Amelia was still an intern, she couldn't afford to make any mistakes. When the procession of sleek cars arrived, Amelia straightened her posture and exchanged an excited glance with her best friend, Faith. The vehicle stopped, and the Prime Minister stepped out accompanied by his entourage. From a distance, Amelia noticed a familiar face among them. Her breath caught, and her pulse quickened. It had been years since she'd seen him, but as he approached, his tall, muscular frame and striking features erased any doubt in her mind. Charles Dawson. That was the young man she had loved and left behind to spare him the burden of raising a child that wasn't his. Charles looked even more distinguished and handsome than she remembered. When their eyes met for a fleeting moment, his expression darkened, loaded with emotion, before she quickly looked away. Faith nudged her. Girl, that was totally your ex. When I heard the news, I didn't think you'd still be this hot. Damn. Still stunned, Amelia turned to her friend. What news? You haven't heard? Faith said, her tone teasing. Charles just moved back from the East Coast. You two are gonna see a lot of each other from now on. Oh, I still can't believe your dreamy ex is here. Now that you know he's back in town, what do you plan to do with that information? Faith's words didn't seem to penetrate Amelia's distant expression. She had been zoning out during lunch and was now poking at her key lime pie, staring blankly into the distance. Faith wiggled her finger in front of Amelia. Hello, Earth to Amelia? Amelia shook her head, forcing her attention back to her friend. Sorry, what? Faith leaned in. Girl, what's up with you? You've been a total space cadet today. Oh my God, are you seeing someone? That's why your head's been so in the clouds. Spill, who is he? Amelia smiled, rolling her eyes. There is no he. Faith, the day I start seeing someone, I promise you'll be the first to know. An elbow nudged Amelia as her best friend scooted in closer to her. Ames, who do you think you're talking to? You may not be seeing someone, but I know that adorable little head of yours is overthinking about something. And my guess is that it starts with a C and rhymes with Arles. Faith knew how close Charles and Amelia were back in the day. He was her best friend, and they were literal high school sweethearts. Amelia must be feeling something after seeing him for the first time in half a decade. Do you still have feelings for Charles? Amelia dismissively waved her hand. He's this big hotshot now. He killed it at that internship with the UN, and you saw how good looking he is in that suit. If he's not already taken, I'm sure there's a line of girls waiting to snatch him up. Her best friend narrowed her eyes at her. Okay, but that didn't answer my question. Amelia let out a heavy sigh. Even if I did still have feelings for him, it's not like my situation hasn't changed. He deserves a bubbly trophy wife who doesn't come with a 5-year-old and baggage. Just then, Faith flicked Amelia's forehead. Hey, my godson is the cutest 5-year-old in the world, and any man would be lucky to be his stepdad. Gripping her fork, Faith suddenly stabbed her lasagna. But what I wouldn't give to find Max's real dad
and beat him to a pulp for ditching you and ruining your perfect relationship with Charles. Faith clenched her fists. I'd certainly love to see that, replied Amelia. It had been eating her alive that she wasn't able to tell Faith that she had reunited with Max's mystery daddy and was currently living with him. She couldn't wait to see the look on Faith's face the day she learned the man she was plotting to murder was actually a dashing Mediterranean prince. Speaking of the devil, Faith suddenly grabbed Amelia's hand and said the last 2 words she expected to hear out of her friend's mouth. Javier Calderon, squealed Faith. Amelia froze. What? How do you... why did you say that? Who is that? Girl, Faith replied. You don't know that Spain has a super hot young prince? Amelia's pulse started to race. How did they end up on this topic? Did Faith know something she wasn't saying? Sorry, why are we talking about the Spanish monarchy? Amelia asked, cautiously terrified that Faith had figured out her secret. The prince just relocated to Miami to serve as an ambassador. Faith stole a bite of pie, savoring it dramatically. After swallowing, she finally answered. And Mr. Calderon is going to be the guest of honor at our gala tonight. Can you believe we're about to meet a real-life prince? Good. So her best friend hadn't figured out her secret. Amelia dropped her shoulders in relief. Oh, I guess I don't care much about monarchies. Faith was practically bouncing in her seat. But Prince Javier isn't just any royal. Have you seen his speeches on TV? The man is gorgeous, which means he'll be even hotter in person. Amelia mumbled. He's more arrogant in person, too. She seethed, thinking about the cold, shameless devil that had recently upended her life. Luckily, Faith interrupted her spiraling thoughts. What are you wearing to the gala? Amelia shrugged. Since it's a work event for us and we're not actual guests, I figured I'd just stick to my work slacks and a blazer. Faith slammed her hands down on the table in disbelief. Slacks? Did you not just hear what I've been saying? Hot foreign royals are expected to be in attendance. And more importantly, so is Charles. Maybe Faith had a point there. Although Amelia was just meant to work the event as an intern and had planned to fade into the background otherwise, the thought of running into Charles at the gala made her stomach flutter. Faith continued her passionate plea. It is essential that you dress to impress tonight, and I have the perfect outfit that will look amazing on you. Faith was not lying when she promised the dress would look amazing on Amelia.
Hey, I'm Amelia. If you're wondering what happens next, download the Pocket FM app now and listen to the exciting episodes of The Royal Accident Bride.